Chapter 1. Deadalus. Best friends Búho and Zine climbed their way to the top of the canyon, as dust fell with every grip and step. When Búho's fingers slipped, rocks tumbled off the cliffside, spiraling into the canyon far below. Zine's hand shot out, fingers clamping around his wrist. For a second, all Búho could hear was his own breathing, ragged and too loud in the narrow canyon. His hands trembled from the disease that weakened him. "Got you," Zine said, teeth gritted as she hauled him back to the ledge. Búho swallowed, tightened his grip on a rope, and followed as they pressed on, over the sun-warmed stone. When they finally reached the top, the canyons opened before them. Zine's eyes lingered with a quiet fondness. This was her home, where her people had carved their lives into the very cliffs. Búho lay in the sun, his purple eyes full of wonder. His black and gold cloak bore the winged mark of his people, born from generations who watched the owls and learned purpose from the way they grasped the world. He also had something exclusive to his people, tubing built into his body, small metal pipes at his limbs, and hollow palms and soles that let him glide through the air. It was an intricate system first conceived by his father, guided by the Aurora. Zine looked like she belonged in the middle of an adventure. Her grandfather's goggles rested in her hair, tools filled the pouches at her belt, and her mechanical pointer finger, one she built herself, was packed with hidden gadgets. Between that, her metal umbrella, and the insects that often clung to her, she was impossible to miss. Zine sat a few feet back, while Búho laid out on the ground close to the edge, his eyes fixed on the endless sky above. He often drifted into daydreams of a life beyond their home, chasing adventures and the freedom that waited past the horizon. Zine broke through it with what he called a whisper yell, her voice soft as a whisper, but sharp with the tone of a shout. "Hey, Búho! Búho! There's something over here!" Búho sighed, looking down from staring at the clouds. "You know, you don't have to whisper yell every time you get really excited, right? I was in the middle of something." "I know, but look!" Zine exclaimed, eyes wide with excitement. Zine pointed eagerly to a cloth on the ground. Búho squinted at it suspiciously. The cloth darted towards him. He jumped back, flailing his arms and lifting his leg into a pretend martial arts stance. "Don't be scared," Zine teased, lifting the cloth to reveal a small, enhanced beetle, its legs clicking as it moved. "It's a beetle cyborg, or as I like to call them, a cybug," Zine announced with a flourish. "Ta-da!" she said proudly. Búho sighed in relief, realizing it was Zine's. "He's not done yet, but I'm working on him," she continued as the cybug began walking around. Búho's expression softened with admiration. "That's awesome, Z. You're a genius. What's their name?" "His name's Max. I've been building our friendship up pretty quickly," Zine said with a grin. Búho's eyes sparkled in amazement as he shook his head in admiration. "You're going to figure out so many ways to help with your gift." His smile faded slightly as his gaze lowered. Zine looked at Búho with determination and grabbed him by the shoulders. "You're going to pass, you know. You'll figure it out. Then we'll both go on an adventure and see the world." Búho gave a faint smile, but it didn't fully reach his eyes. Zine noticed. "What?" He looked down at his hands for a moment before answering. 3 weeks isn't a lot of time to become someone else. He flexed his fingers once, trying to hide the trembling before they curled into his palms. Everybody keeps acting like something's just going to click. Like I'm going to wake up one morning and suddenly be ready. Zine shifted closer, her voice gentler now. You know who you are. Your destiny is too big for you to stay here forever. Sometimes it feels like I was a mistake. My brother and sister left because they think so too. You're not a mistake, and you're going to pass and find your path. And one day we're going to find your brother and sister too. I don't know why they left, but I don't believe they stopped loving you. Tears welled up in Búho's eyes as he gritted his teeth, trying to hold them back. Zine studied him for a moment, like she could tell he was still slipping deeper into his own thoughts. Then, as if deciding he'd sat in them long enough, her expression turned mischievous. So, she said, dragging the word out and bumping his shoulder. When you pass, do you think your dad can make me the glide tubing system like yours? You know, with the tubes through the hands and feet and everything? She pointed at her hands, tracing the imaginary system to her chest, then to her feet. I could use it for so many things. Like to cool down my food or not be so late to things. And I wouldn't have to scale the trees and climb all those ladders to get up there. She slumped over dramatically, pretending to be exhausted. I could even dry my hair so fast. She whispered with a hopeful smile. So fast. Búho chuckled, the tension in his face easing as the tears began to fade. He shook his head with a teasing, "Nope." Zine's jaw dropped in exaggerated disappointment. She raised her hand as if to slap him playfully. The elders won't allow it. Glide tubing is part of our culture, part of our identity. It's sacred, Zine. Zine sighed dramatically. I know, sacred traditions ruin all the fun. Before she could argue further, a familiar voice called from the forest where Búho lived. Hey Búho, your mom's yelling for you to come home now. One of the village guards called out. Okay, Búho hollered back. Zine smirked, saved by the yell. Búho laughed. So, what do you think your mom wants? I don't know, Búho shrugged. But come on. Together, they headed back toward his house, the Psybug trailing behind them, the two friends curious of what awaited them.